Hi, I'm Linda. This is episode 7 of my senior dating experiences. I kind of dated a creative man, if you could call a few walks around a graveyard some dates. GP was into music. I don't have a musical bone in my body, so I admire people who can create it. For him, from what I could tell, it was much more about producing other people's stuff. But some was his own, though I only found the other people's stuff on his YouTube channel. He also wrote lyrics and poetry, none of which I ever saw. We discussed creative projects and photography. I told him about my stop-motion video and how I had hoped it would open some doors, but had yet to do so. I also had an interest in trying to make my cat a YouTube star by overdubbing my voice. I have since changed my mind about that, but I learned some things while playing around with it. We were still both trying to become successful. GP was articulate, which was a pleasant difference from many of the men I met. He would write nice messages on the dating site that were at least a few sentences. On the dating site, it seems most men don't have a computer or even a laptop and are doing the dating messages on their smartphone. As a result, their messages are typically short and often with several typos, which is most irritating. I can appreciate someone who can put several words together with a coherent thought and actually be able to discuss a deep topic. Over the next couple of weeks, we joined each other for a walk through a local cemetery. It is a popular place for dog walkers and cyclists. His physical form was acceptable. He was the right height, still had hair, and his voice was decent. I was disappointed to find that he had no interest in me romantically. After a couple of weeks, I had also been on another date, only to be relegated to the friend zone again, which was making me very frustrated. The last time I saw GR, I complained about always being friend zoned like he did to me, and I was anxious about it happening again with another upcoming date. Apparently he resented that and decided he didn't want to see me again. This did not surprise me, as he had a big problem with chronic depression that had been going on for many years. He continued to see a doctor about it regularly, but it didn't stop him from crying every day. I know about depression. Shortly before I met my late husband, I sank so low trying to date in my late 40s that I was seriously considering suicide. I got to a place where I felt nothing would ever make me smile again, and there would never be joy in my life again. So why carry on? I was well into contemplating my suicide note to my mother. I had planned to be around long enough to see her through her own death, but I didn't feel I could take it anymore. I was in that hole for a very long period. Oddly, I actually snapped out of it, but it made me understand how someone can get into that dark place and never see a way out. I almost felt that bad after losing my husband to the flu. We had gotten into a lift with an old man who was coughing. 36 hours later, we were both deathly ill with the flu. 2 days later, I was getting better, but my husband was getting worse. I took him to the doctor, who sent him to the hospital. It went from flu to chest infection to pneumonia and then sepsis. It killed him in a week. It wasn't until after a year, after getting past all of the firsts of him not being there for holidays and such, that it didn't hurt so much. I did try dating that first year and even found a man who was a friend for a few months. Unfortunately, I couldn't take it any farther because he had a bad reaction to gluten. I had just spent 16 years with a man who was so picky about what he would eat that I missed out on eating several things that I loved. I just couldn't commit to someone who was going to be even more limiting. Picking a restaurant was near impossible, and I tended to go with the man's choice over mine. I know that having a relationship means doing a lot of compromising. Most of my life has been like that. I'm getting more all right with how I can now do what I want when I want, and my sleep schedule is not tied to a mate. Trying to find a mate and new best friend seems almost impossible. I'm fortunate my cat is good company. I do get a date often enough. I also need to take a break from it for a while, as dating tends to be a full-time job. Doing the same song and dance over and over with each new guy does get old. Later, when I have wound down from this stint, I may try a different dating site. I know I am less tolerant of some of the things like smoking. It was a major contributing factor in the death of my husband. Vaping is probably just as bad, but it hasn't been proven yet. God knows what actually goes into the vapor, as it is not regulated, and it has nicotine, so no one is being fooled if you think it is helping you quit. My husband just kept vaping until he got the nicotine buzz he wanted, so he used it constantly. And I'm sure it was because he didn't really want to quit. He was just doing it to satisfy the people who told him he should, like his doctor. Over time, I am getting less sure about how many compromises I am willing to make just to not be alone for the rest of my life. I would really like to find a steady friend, so my search will continue. In the meantime, the depression does creep in. Then it is time to get on my pajamas, curl up under a blanket on the couch with a cup of hot chocolate nearby, and find some funny animal videos on YouTube. It's not a cure, but it does help. Something else that has helped me is just doing a simple chant like the Hawaiian chant of forgiveness. It goes, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you." Don't get hung up on the words. Any chant with a positive theme will do. The reason it works is because it gets you to change your internal dialogue, so do it several times until you get bored. I like to plug into videos by Alan Watts, which help one learn not to take things so seriously. In any case, it is vital you change the channel in your brain to get some relief, even if it is just for a short time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.